Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Today I have a very sweet movie that I wanted to tell you about. It is called Two Hearts. It is currently in some theaters across the United States and it will be available on video on demand very, very soon. The movie is rated PG-13. It's an hour and 40 minutes. And the Movie Review Mom grade I'm giving it is a B. So, in a quick nutshell, based on the dramatic true story from the 2017 book called All My Tomorrows, A Story of Tragedy, Transplant, and Hope by Brian Gregory, this movie intertwines two families' lives. It tells the story of Christopher Gregory and Jorge Bacardi, who's practically Cuban royalty of the Bacardi rum dynasty. So the movie is about both of these men. It's directed by Lance Hool and is a very sugary, sweet, family-friendly movie. Chris Charalambous, the head of acquisitions at Freestyle, stated about the movie, quote, "We believe Two Hearts is the kind of heartwarming and uplifting love story that audiences need right now and will want to experience," end quote. So a special thanks to all of those who bravely declare themselves organ donors on their driver's license. At least that's how it's done here in the United States. They will live on in all of the lives that they touch. And yes, that's what this movie is about. These two families who are connected through an organ donation. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give you some quick tips for parents. The movie is about a double lung transplant. So you might want to explain to your kid what that's all about and how that works. There's just a tiny bit of profanity, lots of kissing because it's a romance and someone dies, of course. Some themes that are really powerful in the movie are one is spoken by Chris, who also is the role of the narrator. And he says, there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. And so while the movie is not overtly Christian, there's mention of God and miracles and faith and prayer and that kind of thing. Chris's mom tells him there are some things that are more than meets the eye, and you definitely see that unveiled in the movie as well. Chris, as the narrator, also says life is helpful when you can zoom in and out of it, so to speak, in order to get proper perspective. And so there are moments where he says to the viewer, now here's a great moment to zoom out and really appreciate everything that's happening in this moment. And then it zooms back in and you get more of the details. And I find that that's actually true in my life as well. I love flying on airplanes because it forces me to get that zoomed out perspective. Literally, when I look down and see the teeny tiny world below me, I realize, how insignificant some problems are. And that helps me to put things into perspective. Another interesting line, which is a theme, is spoken by Grace, played by the lovely Carrie Matchett. She says, when things don't work out, there's always a reason. And both of these families have that same idea that there's something is meant to be. Another theme is being an organ donor and all that means and how that's explored in the movie, how triumph can overcome tragedy and life and death and everything in between. Now, some of the things that I really liked include Jacob Elordi from Euphoria. He's one of the main characters and probably really the only one that you're going to recognize in the cast. I really liked the cast. They felt like real people and not actors, and that's always a good thing. There were some bad, awkward acting moments, but overall, I thought that the cast did a pretty good job. Jorge Bacardi is 76 years old today, but there was a time when his parents were told that he would not live past 10 years old. So his life really is a miracle in many ways. As I mentioned, it's not really a religious movie. I think everyone will be able to relate to the very sweet messages and be inspired by them. Definitely have a box of tissues ready when you watch this movie. You will cry, even though it's cheesy and saccharine sweet, and you know it's going to happen, you're still going to cry. You feel the emotion on and the pain on both sides of the story. And I think that that's really powerful. And sometimes we just need a good cry. I like how the movie poster shows puzzle pieces, and that illustrates how we really are all connected. And then finally, while her husband was in surgery for the organ donation, Leslie asked the doctor about all of the people in the waiting room when she learned that they were all waiting for their loved ones, their surgeries, or for an organ to be delivered. It gave her a really good idea that ended up blessing many, many people. She and Jorge later founded the Gabriel House of Care in memory of Christopher Gregory, their organ donor. Now, today it provides lodging and a community for patients and caregivers who are waiting for transplants. And you can learn more about it at gabrielhouseofcare.org. I love that it wasn't just a simple story and people were inspired, but that you can take action on the feelings that you feel, that you experience during the movie. And during the movie, you actually learn that hospitals generally don't release the names of the organ donors. And of course, the family of the person who died and who is donating the organs generally want to know about the people who are going to receive various body parts. And sometimes they reach out afterwards and say thank you. And I don't want to give everything away in this story, but because Jorge and his wife, Leslie, didn't know the name of their donor, they created this foundation and they named their donor Gabriel after the angel Gabriel because he said that he really was an angel in their lives. Later, they found out his real name, but that's why the name of the facility is the Gabriel House of Care. And I just thought that that was super sweet. Now, there were a few things that I didn't like about the movie. And what's funny about this movie, though, first of all, is that critics hate this movie and film goers, especially those with estrogen, love it. It's not the best movie ever made, but it sure has all the feels. And that's what people want right now, to feel something, especially things like love and hope and meaning. So I just think it's funny because critics are often very harsh on saccharine sweet movies or even movies that appear to be Christian movies. And so the movie is ranked really well on Rotten Tomatoes and less so on IMDb. Some of the flirtatious dialogue between the two couples when they first meet is super cheesy. You pretty much know how things are going to go, but the film actually flips some things around and surprises you. And I love a good surprise. There's super sappy music to go along with the super sappy dialogue. And the movie really kind of looks and feels like a movie that you would watch on the Lifetime channel or the Oxygen channel or, one of those types of channels or Hallmark even. And not to say that that's a bad thing, but that's why one of the reasons I think why critics are so harsh on their scores for this type of a film. Some of the characters joke around, but nothing is really laugh out loud funny. There's not a whole lot of humor. There's a lot of drama. The first half of the movie is definitely more light because it's when the couples meet each other and fall in love. And then, of course, the acts 2 and acts 3 are heavier because someone is dying and decisions have to be made and there's pain and suffering and all of that kind of stuff. Because of the lack of a lot of humor, I wouldn't really call this movie a rom-com, but a romantic drama, maybe. It was really fun to learn about these two couples as they met and fell in love and all of that. But it also would have been really fun to learn more about all of the other people who received the organs that were donated at the death of one of these people. And you do see a little bit, and I really loved that because in reality, the young man who died actually was able to save 5 people because of his donations. And so that was a really sweet part of the movie. Again, I just would have loved to have learned more about them, but it's difficult to squeeze all of that into a movie. And so I get that. But I do have a recommendation for another movie here in just a second. Another thing was with the movie titled like Two Hearts, I assumed the story would be about a heart transplant, but it's not. It's a double lung transplant, which is amazing that we can even do that. Because it was more about lungs, I thought that there should have been more metaphors about breathing and the breath of life. However, there is where you see a boat being christened by Jorge and Leslie, and it has the name of Breath of Life in Spanish because he was from Cuba and then had moved to Puerto Rico. All right. And then on my website, moviereviewmom.com, you can actually read some of the lines that I wrote down as I was watching the movie that I thought were particularly insightful or inspiring. And I'll share one of them with you right now. So at the end, after somebody had died, the family leaves the hospital only to find tons of people standing out there holding candles, praying kind of in a vigil type of a way. And it's very touching. And so the father thanks them and he says, if there's anything you can do for us, it's this. Before you go to sleep tonight, please call someone you love tonight and tell them. Call friends or a relative you haven't talked to in a while, and don't ask them about their grades or cell phone bill. Just tell them how much you love them. And that refers to some of the conversations that the father had with his son, where he was asking about his grades and his cell phone and that kind of thing. And so the father had learned what was really most important in life, and that is life. Okay, now I have two movies actually I want to recommend. And the first one that instantly came to my mind while I watched this movie was a movie starring Will Smith called 7 Pounds. It's powerful and it kind of gives you some of that background of all of the recipients of an organ donor that I was kind of craving for this movie. Now, just so you know, it is about an organ donation. And so when I first saw the movie, I didn't know anything about it. And for probably the first 20 minutes, I was totally lost. I had no idea what was going on. And then slowly I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. And that was intentional because you were supposed to not know that Will Smith was going to die. And so he was carefully choosing whom he wanted to donate his various body parts to. Anyway, fascinating movie and very, very well done. And then another movie that has to do with organ donation is a Denzel Washington movie called John Q. Now it takes it off in a little bit of a different direction, but again, this movie might put you in the mood to learn a little bit more about organ donation, and I would encourage you to be an organ donor. For me, it's kind of a no-brainer decision. I don't know if they're going to be able to donate my brain, but I didn't mean it quite that way. But, you know, I just feel like once I'm gone, I don't need those body parts. And if they can help other people, then why not help them? Now, there are other people that have obviously different opinions, but it's something that I wanted you to think about today as you watch this movie. And I think that you'll enjoy it. It'll definitely touch your heart. All right, that's it for today. Please subscribe, tell your friends. I'm trying to build up this little channel, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye for now.